Hey everybody, we are Robert, Martin, and Francis, and this is Snakes and Otters, pointless discussion of eternal questions. Get ready, we're about to live in your head rent-free. Hello everyone, and welcome to the 11th episode of Snakes and Otters, the podcast. I'm here today with my fellow podcasters, Martin and Francis, and I'm Robert, of course. And today, we are going to talk about a common experience that we all share and love. And that is the free Central Park productions of Shakespeare here in our hometown. 59 years old this year. It is the longest running continuous Shakespeare in the park in the country.
That's right. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. A fantastic thing.
We've been going for many, many years, all of us.
We've been going 30 years.
Yeah. I can't say that we've made it every single year,
but pretty close.
But at least one of us has made it just about every year.
That's right. Yeah, we've got a common experience between us.
Yeah. Now, all of us have a little bit of a theater background.
That's right.
Some of us more so than others.
That's right.
Which is fine.
Oh, well, I mean, no, go ahead. You've got the considerable background.
Correct. Well, I did 9 years of theater, acting and directing, mostly acting, but acting and directing between high school and college. Nothing since. You obviously were in at least one play, because...
Two.
That's right, it was two.
I was
That's right.
two in college.
That's right, it was two.
And I was in two in high school.
And you were in two in high school.
That's right. Best actor both years, thank you very much.
Ah, well, there you go.
Never musicals.
No, we do draw certain lines, I suppose.
Comedy and drama.
I did direct an opera, though.
There you go.
In college. So, we got a little bit of experience all the way around there.
Right.
So, anyways, we're going to talk about the three productions that they did this year, which is Henry IV Part 2,
right,
King Lear, and As You Like It. So we've got a historical, we've got a tragedy, and we've got a comedy. So we've hit all the genres for
what
Shakespeare.
They try to do every season is do one of each.
In recent years.
But Lear they haven't done in 30 years.
Yes, this is the first time they've done Lear in quite some time.
I was going to say, I don't recall us ever seeing it before.
No.
I think it's in the playbill it's 32 seasons since they've touched it.
Wow, yeah, because they've done the Henry's tetralogy at least twice. This is the second time because we've seen it. Of course, that's 4 seasons back to back. This is the third for this go around.
So before we dive into the details, let's take care of some housekeeping here. So for those of you that have been listening to us on Podbean, we are now also available on Stitcher and Spotify, and hopefully soon we'll get on there on the iTunes store for all of you Apple users. We are also available as a Twitter feed at Snakes and Otters. All of these are Snakes and Otters, at Snakes and Otters for Twitter, snakesandotters.podbean.com, and whatever the Stitcher and Spotify URLs
Just
are.
search for Snakes and Otters. You'll find us.
Follow us, listen to us, tell your friends. So, anything else you want to cover before we dive right in?
Let's dive.
Well, no, I got one thing.
Excellent.
Just on the Twitter, I'll just add, we will follow back.
Yes, we will.
Yes, we will.
And we do want to interact with listeners.
Very much so.
So please, like I said, you can search any of those platforms and find us. Just search Snakes and Otters. Give us a follow. Give us a listen.
Oh, also, if you want to send us an email, we are snakesandotterspodcast@gmail.com. And we all monitor that. So.
Exactly, all three of us.
Mm-hmm.
We're anxious for listener interaction. We're hoping for some messages from listeners.
That's right. Do you have any questions that you would like us to answer or topics you would like us to talk about?
Yeah.
That's how to do it. Tweet it to us or email us, whatever you prefer.
That's right. As 3 Renaissance individuals, we can talk about anything that you want.
That's right. Even if we don't know about it, we can
still talk about it.
All right, so let's dive in here. So we got 3 plays this year. Let's start off with Lear, since that's the one that we all saw together.
At the same time, that's right, yeah. Same evening.
So, first time in 32 years. What was your take on it?
Loved it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely loved it.
What about
some individual performances? I thought the actors, again, for a free municipal production, the level of professionalism I thought was super high.
Well, these guys are paid.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So they are professionals.
And they are in many respects the truth, because while a few folks come and go here and there, as a general rule, they are the same crew year after year after year. And
some
many
of
of these, some of these have
yeah.
done it for many. In fact, Monty Pretty was given his own. He's been doing it since 1961 when they first started. He's been in every play since then. I'm pretty sure they actually dedicated a chair.
It's a bench.
It's a bench.
The bench
to him
Monty
that
Pretty.
they did at Henry IV that we saw together.
Which is fantastic. He's a fantastic guy. I love him.
He always does the voiceovers for the beginning and the end, and has for many, many years. And we've all seen him since the very beginning. I mean, he was just a fantastic guy. And my gosh, I don't know how old he is, but
he's getting up there.
He's getting up there. That's correct. But his voice is so wonderful to hear.
He's got one of the best Shakespearean voices I've ever heard.
Right. Yeah. And he plays the part of Shallow in Henry IV Part 2, which is kind of a comic relief bit. Of course, it's him and Falstaff. Falstaff is, we were talking about this tonight, it's Falstaff's play in many respects. And the guy that plays him, he really did a fantastic job. It's a shame, Martin, that you missed that, because and that's the way they
I was really looking forward to it.
Because they arrange it where if one of these guys is playing the head lead in one of them, it's slightly a bit thing in some of the others. They spread that around a little bit. Because the guy that plays Lear is far more of a bit player in Henry IV, whereas Falstaff is primo in Henry IV, but he's a bit player in the other two.
Right.
Which it's just a repertory way of working with it, and it comes off fantastic.
Yeah.
But everybody gets their own moment.
They do.
Well, I just mentioned John Huffman plays Lear.
Correct. Oh my God.
Very good.
So
he has been good for a long time.
Yes, he played Iago last year.
Yep.
In Othello, which was an amazing performance as well. They're both great characters to play, but it was emotionally moving, I thought.
Yes, I thought
and he played Lear, I thought, as a bit of an asshole, which kind of
that's the way Lear starts out.
He does
a smug douchebag.
That's correct. But not
and he
every
has to be broken to be reassembled.
That's correct. And sometimes he gets it, sometimes he doesn't get it. But Huffman does such a fantastic job of all that nuance. There's a conflictedness that comes through in the performance that I think is essential to Lear.
This is the great thing about Shakespeare in general. In many ways, especially to our sophisticated, and I'm using the air quotes here, sophisticated eye and ear, Shakespeare, especially the plays, can seem very contrived and almost immature in some ways. Partially that's for the age that it was written. Partially that's also a time thing. You got so much time to do this, and you got to move it along. But the circumstances of how things get moved along is not the point. It's that he is so good at portraying the humanity of the characters, the depth. He puts the characters through the depths of hell to bring them out the other side. And it's not just the tragedies that he'll do that with. He's very good at doing that with historicals. Oh, yeah. Obviously, there's a little bit less of that with the comedies. But
comedy was comedy was very much. In fact, I found myself watching As You Like It, and I'm thinking, how the hell are they going to ever end this? I know it's got to be ending shortly because they seem to write themselves into a corner, and all of a sudden it all gets resolved at the very end. That's kind of Shakespeare. It's really not about the resolution. He has to give it to you. He knows you're wanting it. But it's about what he puts them through, like you're saying.
And Lear is the pinnacle of all that. It's always been considered that's the pinnacle of all of the tragedies.
Yeah,
and what all
putting the character through hell. That's correct.
And Lear is always considered the pinnacle of that, and it's non-political. It's all family drama.
It's aging. Which I think
it brings a huge chunk of it.
It's a huge part of that. It's losing one's mind in many respects. It's kind of like Hamlet in a way, but for different reasons. Because Hamlet's about somebody who couldn't make up his mind. It's sort of kind of this one here. He's made up his mind, but he's wrong.
It comes back to bite him on the ass.
That's right, because he's completely wrong, and he will not admit that.
Yeah.
And that's what.
But more than one character goes through that too.
Oh, that's correct. Edgar is amazing for his transformation because he's a dumbass at the beginning. He doesn't believe that his brother could actually sell him out. It's very biblical. You're thinking about Joseph and his brothers. His brother sells him out, and he ends up losing everything, goes mad, or at least pretends to, and in the end comes back around and wins but only because of the things he's learned along the way. That humanity is not nice. Family is not going to always be nice to you. He's very innocent.
Family's messy.
Family is messy. Yeah,
But
Edgar
like you
is an
say-
extreme naivete, innocent at the beginning, and he journeys his way to experience and a little bit of jadedness. I don't think much. I don't think he loses it completely. But
No, he comes out more human at
that's
the
right.
end.
He's far
More human
wiser.
at the end. And I just mentioned another performance. It's Neil Robertson plays Edgar.
That's right.
And has played in Shakespeare in the Park many years.
He also played Bardolph in Henry IV, which is kind of a bit player, but he's a hell of a cool bit player. He
and
really-
Richard
he needs to do
II
more.
last year.
That's right. Yeah,
He's very good.
he's very
He
good.
needs to do
he did
more.
well. Edgar's a meaty, beefy part that he did a really great job with, and he was Richard II 2 years ago.
Yeah, he
which
did
is
an
also
awesome
a
job.
fantastic that. And sliding into Bardolph is kind of a character that you're paying your entrance fee at Henry IV Part 1, but he continues to pay off through
Yeah.
3 plays. And he
Yeah.
actually, this is Shakespeare for goodness sakes, he actually gets hung in Henry V, which is a culmination.
Oh, great. Spoilers.
If you don't know that, come on. The damn thing is how old? Yeah, that's correct. It's,
Okay, so we talked that's quite a bit about Lear. So I want to move on to the other two because honestly, I was less impressed with the overall play of Henry. Now, Falstaff was great.
That's right, yeah.
Although I kind of liked him better in Part 1. I think the part was better in Part 1.
I think you're
the actor
exactly
still
right.
did a fantastic part. Don't get
That's
me wrong.
correct. Falstaff kind of gets a little long in the tooth here. He goes on and on and on at times, and it's kind of like he's already gotten famous, so it's kind of like you want to sit and watch him, listen to him eat crackers, because he's so important at this point. And I think that works against him, because he doesn't... It seems a little contrived. He doesn't need to do all the things that he does. It's not funny anymore.
It's
but it's
almost
not meant to be.
strained in the sense
it
that
is
it's-
because it has a tragic ending where at the very end he is banished, which has been foretold all throughout. And basically, he only comes back for a brief period of time for his death scene in Henry V.
Spoilers.
Again, but it's death of a broken heart.
Yeah.
In many respects, that whole tetralogy is, even though Falstaff's not in the first part, it really is his story in many respects.
yeah,
It's also Prince Hal's. It's not just his.
Well, I mean, because you're talking about a certain period of time, it can't be any one character's
that's
story.
right. It isn't. But there are certain movements that flow through all four
well,
of them.
you have to have continuity.
That's correct.
So,
Whereas Bolingbroke is an essential character in Richard II, but he's almost minor. It's just his death scene again in Henry IV Part 2. Mm-hmm. He almost doesn't have a role, even though the play is after him. It's
Right.
really about Falstaff
Right.
and Prince Hal.
So for me, the thing that made Henry IV Part 2 less enjoyable was, honestly, I just don't think it's one of Shakespeare's better historicals.
It hangs a lot on Falstaff.
It does.
If it weren't for that,
Which
why?
is fine, but I mean, I just don't. To me, it just doesn't work because it's too much Falstaff to really move you along to the point. Because the whole point of Part 2 is to get you to Henry V.
That's correct. It's
And
transitional.
so, and I think it suffers for that.
That's right.
In that sense, but also, honestly, and we've talked about this, Francis. I think that in doing 3 plays and 3. When I say big, I mean these are not easy productions.
Correct.
Now, granted, it's not like everybody has a lead in every role, but I think that the polish wasn't as good on Henry as maybe it was on Lear. Although even with Lear, I still think we've got some issues, and partially this is, I think, the amount of time that we're talking about. I mean, these guys have got to do 3 plays. They only get so much preparatory time. And they've got to learn 3 parts. Granted, it's 1 big part usually and 2 minor, or maybe 1 or 2 mediums and 1 very minor kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really add up to 3 roles. Adds up to maybe 1.5 or 2. So, but the directors, of course, can be stretched very thin. I think the directing could have helped it a little bit more. Best example was the guy who plays Prince Hal. Not a bad actor. I think he's very good.
Correct.
I'm interested to see how well he's going to do Henry V because he's young.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know that he's got the chops to pull off that
I was gonna
older,
say, 'cause
serious character.
That's right, because that's
He may.
that
I
is
would
one
bet
of
he
Shakespeare's
can.
most
I would bet he
challenging.
can.
Yeah, I think so too.
We'll see. I mean, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how well he does it.
Well, I mean, Lear's the most challenging character in the entire...
Of what they did this year, that is correct.
Of the entire pantheon, Lear's probably the most complex
I
character.
would probably
of all.
object to that. I'd say Hamlet beats him, but I can see it's a good argument. He's certainly
Yeah.
one of the top. I will give you that. Falstaff is actually pretty easy to do.
Well, he's a buffoon.
Correct.
You can have fun with him.
That's correct. That's why he's not as challenging.
That's why I like
nor
the
is
comedies, because you can have fun with them. And I got some particular points about that.
Yeah.
And as you like it. But for me, this lack of polish was especially obvious in one particular scene. We talked about this after the show. And that is when Prince Hal is confronting the Lord Chamberlain.
That's right.
And he realizes that he has done him wrong.
Uh-huh.
And this should be a very pivotal moment.
Right.
But it was too quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
okay.
It's way too quick. There was not enough...
There's not a heft. There was not enough
Right.
heft.
There was not a pause. Because he sees him.
Yeah.
He sees the Lord Chamberlain. He's about ready to put the hammer down on him. And the Lord Chamberlain says, I have done nothing but serve your father and serve him well. And if you're going to kill me for that, then kill me. I mean,
Right.
It's a huge paraphrase, but that's essentially what he says.
Yeah.
Right.
And Prince Hal, the line is your and right. And there should be a long pause between the your and the right.
That's right. Because there's the tension
There's like a
there. That
quarter-second pause.
That's right.
You
The
need to
tension
learn-
was perfect and wasn't used.
Right. And to me, that's
It was a
a
missed
director's
setup. Yeah.
that's a
you're
director's
absolutely right.
problem.
There's a director.
And this guy's been directing far too long to let that go. So to me, that's a lack of the polish.
Right.
That I think is maybe they don't have enough prep time.
It's close to the end.
It's getting close to the end. Yeah, I mean,
it's a moment, and
it's a
sometimes that moment could have been squashed over because it's not pivotal to the plot.
it's not. And maybe it's one of those
Maybe
things.
it's an interpretive choice.
And maybe it's an
that's
interpretive
fine.
choice.
I mean, I understand that happens
Again,
a lot.
when-
but to me, I thought it could have been so great with so little effort.
Yes, it didn't have the emotional impact that I think it could have.
That's right. And
But that's one of the few things I have to complain about as far as a particular instance.
Yeah.
That's right, because as to kind of show the opposite side of that, one of the critical scenes in that play is when Hal and his father reconcile, and it was spot on. It was perfect because the young Prince Hal takes the crown and tries it on and goes away, and they come back and can't find the crown. And Henry IV, the king, is just beside himself, and his son comes back, and they've been kind of strained throughout all this time, and most of that's Prince Hal's fault because
Yes.
he's been his wilder days. As
Yeah,
they call
he's
them.
been sowing his wild oats. He's been hanging around with Falstaff of all people.
That's right, and he's come to the realization that that's not right, and I think it's where that moment during that reconciliation, where everything the audience is looking for happens.
And maybe they
It's the
took
turn
that
point. Yeah,
as well. He's already had his moment there,
right.
Yeah.
but I still think that was just a. And like you said, it could have been a creative choice,
Right.
And maybe it was. Just for me, that was I just felt weak,
Yeah, and
But-
it should have been great.
right? And I
among
said,
many
this
other
is not
great
to tear down the play or the actors. Don't get me wrong.
Right. I mean,
I think they've been doing a phenomenal job.
Overall, I mean, if you've never experienced this, listeners, if your town doesn't have a Shakespeare in the Park, or even if they do, trust me, the Kentucky Shakespeare Festival does it right.
That's correct.
It's-
They've had
it's
59
the
years to
longest
do this right.
for a reason, and it's a wonderful, fun thing.
All the technical
We look
stuff
to
is
it.
done correct.
Yeah.
You don't have to mess with that. There's no suspension of disbelief or any of that sort of stuff. You can hear it wherever you're at.
It's a tremendous.
In fact,
troupe of,
the night that I was there, which neither of you all were, it was As You Like It. Now, granted, they had had a lot of folks. We had some bad weather, some hot weather and some rainy weather recently. For whatever reason, it was a Saturday night that I went. They said it was the second largest number they've ever had.
It's like over 1,200.
1,200 people in this relatively small space. And that was
That's
unheard
astounding.
of. It's astounding.
yeah. Well, and
And it was wonderful because when you got that many folks, it affects the performance.
It does
Because you build off that energy that's out there.
Yeah,
and they
that's-
were into it.
yeah, and the crowds are always wonderful.
They are.
Let me, though, I'll take it on the reverse a little bit here, too. In addition to the 3 big productions in Central Park,
yes.
they spend all spring
Right.
with like a little 6-actor abbreviated play that they take to all the city parks,
Yep.
which is like 40 of them. I mean,
Right.
it's crazy. all over town.
And they got the Globe Players, the younger group that is doing stuff. They do stuff all year round.
They do. They go to the schools. I mean, it is a lot of great stuff that our local
I got to
folks
see the 6-actor 90-minute Macbeth twice this year in parks, and it's so unbelievably intimate. I mean, it's 15, 20 people maybe sitting on a grassy
really? I didn't
lawn, or maybe 30 people, and it's the 6 actors, and they set up and they just kind of run past you onto the part where they're performing, and it's just, you can reach out and touch them. You're almost part of the play.
Yeah.
And it's not all the complete same cast, same actors, but
Right.
it is some of them.
Right.
Dathan Hooper, my favorite,
Yeah.
who has played in
Which one was he?
dozens of these. He played Macbeth in the
He was Othello last year.
and Othello last year,
Oh, yeah.
and
What did he
Kent. He was Kent in Lear.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
He's
a longtime stalwart of the Shakespeare in the Park.
Yeah,
He's
he's
my
been-
absolute favorite.
He played the ghost in Hamlet a few years back.
Yeah.
A fantastic performance.
So it's a great point about how well they do other stuff. They're especially tied into the audience. They love interacting at the intermission and before.
Yeah.
Which really it makes you feel like you're.
It's yours.
Yeah.
They say it's your Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And there's some truth to
Belongs
that.
to everybody in the city.
It does.
That's right.
It's
So-
just a shame the one cargo company's flights
Oh
often
yes.
come in right over the stage.
But that's correct. But
They manage to work
they
around it.
work around that. They stop for the moment and allow the plane to go over. And,
And if they're doing it in a part that is not particularly serious,
Yeah,
they incorporate it.
that's correct.
They'll look up. They won't look at their watch, but they'll do the 17th century equivalent.
That's
Or
right.
the
Exactly.
16th
They'll look
century
up and they'll
equivalent.
raise their hands and all something like
Yeah.
that.
it
That's what-
happened during Lear in one of the parts where poor Tom's going nutty.
That's right.
So he
Yes.
worked it right into
Yes.
his
Correct. That's the one
performance.
we're
It was
remembering.
Yes,
great.
that was really
We were all
good.
there. That's
It was
what-
Yes.
great. Everybody in the whole crowd laughed, I
Yeah.
think.
So let's move on to As You Like It, which, like I said, was my personal favorite
No
of
question.
this year.
It's the best they did this year.
So, as is the case with many of Shakespeare's comedies, you've got some gender bending,
Yeah.
you've got some
Yeah.
mistaken identities, and you've got, if not a love triangle, a love quadrangle,
Correct.
Or however many extra pieces that you need to make that work.
which somehow always gets resolved.
Yes.
Like we talked about. But you have no idea. You're about 3/4 of the way and you said, how the hell are they going to fix all this?
Everyone finds their true love eventually.
Well, that's part of
Exactly.
it. And all those little threads that were dropped at the very beginning somehow come back. If it's only a mention, you get it all taken care of.
Have some more bourbon there. I think
Can
that's
I
an
refill
excellent
anyone's
idea.
glass?
Oh, yeah,
Martin's
please.
offering to refill everyone's glass.
I think I'll take a little bit. It's Woodford Reserve is what we've got here today. Special edition,
I'm gonna
actually.
give myself another splash.
Splash.
Yeah, splash
Just a
all
little
of us
glass.
Just a
here.
little bit.
Yeah, because
That's good.
all this good talking gets
More
one
ice,
gets
anyone?
one dry. I'm still okay for now.
Woo! All right. It's a good thing you're not driving.
That's right. Well,
Yeah, we just mentioned we are at the
We're in the
basement of the Baxter building.
basement of the Baxter
here
building. That's
at Francis's house.
That's
so-
right. So I don't have to go anywhere. So I can
That's
have
right.
as much as I
So,
want.
As You Like It, this one really got to showcase some of the actors that we really haven't seen a whole lot of before. The thing I loved about this one, especially because, my roots are from Eastern Kentucky. Both of my parents come from, come from Eastern Kentucky, even though they met in a different state. So I am very much of Kentucky blood. And so I love me some bluegrass because that is the music of my family.
Sure.
That's what my mom and dad listened to growing up. My mom-
Interesting.
so
I did not know that.
You didn't- okay.
All these years, I did not know your family
So-
was into bluegrass music.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I remember
that's
you
so
mentioning
cool.
it, but we've never really talked about it.
So I honestly expected a little more bluegrass in this because this setting is set as a rural Kentucky kind of setting because there's bluegrass music as part of it. All original compositions
That's correct.
that were created
That's
just
amazing.
for
That's
this.
amazing.
And I'm not sure about the night that you were there, but the night that I was there, the composer was there present, and they called him out at the end.
Oh no, he was not.
Okay,
I wish I had known
Yeah,
that.
I know.
Yeah.
He was
That's
there
amazing.
because, as executive director said, all the words are Shakespeare's, but all the music's his.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was an amazing moment, and it was not hillbilly by any means. This is very sophisticated Southern gentry in all the best sense of the
Well,
costuming.
Yes, yes. I mean,
Would you
some of the
describe
people-
the setting and the costuming as Faulkner?
I think
style?
that's not bad. That's not bad.
when I looked at it, on one side over on stage right, they had what was obviously meant to be a tobacco barn.
Yeah.
And I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Because I've seen real tobacco barns, and immediately, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah, because it was very rural Americana.
Yeah. Now, it was the time period was meant to be more of like a late 19th century, early 1900s.
That's right, 1880s, 1890s, something like that.
Yeah.
But it was very flexible. It
Right.
They
You can only really tell that by the costumes of those who were better off, because those who had money, you could say, "Oh yeah, that's more like."
And the bustles.
Yes, and the bustles. Yes,
the women wore these enormous bustles. Those who were.
Let me tell you, baby got back then.
Oh, that's correct, because it was they did a great.
You're not wearing a bustle.
Yes. But they used that very effectively.
Postbellum.
Yes,
yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Normally, I do not like it when Shakespeare is not done as it was originally done. I'm not real big on modern interpretations.
Agreed.
Yeah, the whole turning Macbeth into a fascist.
We've seen that before.
I was
not a
fan.
fan.
Yes, they did that a few years ago. I was just not.
Because you really cannot, especially the historicals. Now that's the one that enrages me.
Yes,
don't you dare do that, because these are very much tied to a specific place and time.
Yes,
well,
and
they can do it with the comedies and the tragedies.
You can get away with those. They've done it.
Caesar. They've done it with Caesar as well.
Yeah,
they've done like the corporate backstabbing with Caesar as well.
And I get budgets being what they are.
Yeah.
Sometimes you cannot afford the period.
This one, it worked fine.
It worked great. It was fantastic.
Again, partially because it's comedy.
Yeah.
But the music was well integrated into what they did.
I'm so sorry I missed it now.
And because the lead singer of this was the actor who played Edgar, and who played
Neil Robertson.
That's exactly right.
When I first saw him in the first year of this Game of Kings, is what they're calling this, where they're doing all the historical back-to-backs.
Henry historicals,
he was Richard II.
Yeah, I thought when I first saw him, I was like, oh, he does not look like he should be a Richard II. Because he's very slender. Yeah. He's got a very almost nasally kind of voice.
He did.
But he pulled that off.
That's correct, because
he's become one of my favorites.
That's right. Richard was supposed to be a dick, and he shall we say, dickified him very effectively.
He did, yes. So
and that was his credit to his performance.
The main song at the end.
That's right.
He was phenomenal.
He was very phenomenal.
I tell you what,
he wasn't very much of a
Alison Krauss kind of vibe for all the music.
Oh, that's so
because
cool.
really he didn't have a role. His character was nothing but that's what he did.
He was a minstrel, basically.
He was a minstrel, that's right, and it was amazing.
He was hanging out with the Duke, who is exiled, who is the father of the main female lead.
That's right.
By the way, that actress, this is the first really big one that she's gotten to do.
That's correct. We've seen her for several years here.
She's only been around a couple of years. She did.
She was
Desdemona
last year.
I thought she was wonderful as Desdemona.
She was great in this.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely
that was
fantastic.
her play.
Yes, it was.
Rosalind, she just nailed it.
What's her
she
name?
did.
Haley
Dizdarevic. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yes. She was phenomenal.
She was great as Desdemona, which is last year, which was a great thing here. And she did a fine job. She played Doll in Henry II. I mean, Henry IV, Part 2.
She was good in that.
She was very good.
Yes.
Which is not a huge part, but damn, she nails it. But
she's a good actress. She's got range.
That's correct, because when she played Rosalind here, Rosalind's probably the most... Well, she's the main character in many respects. She's on the stage. She does the gender bending thing, and she's got to convince you with this. And she
would have been a lot easier in Shakespeare's time, since men played all the roles.
That's correct. But yeah, because she's very attractive. She comes off very effectively as Rosalind, but when she transforms herself into Ganymede, which is the assumed name that she takes, she sells it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, for those in the audience, we know who she is and what she is.
Right.
But the costume that she's in, hides the... I mean, she's a tall, slender woman, so it's not like she's a very visibly buxom woman or anything like that, which would make it much more difficult.
Yeah.
So they chose a physical type that was very easy to do for this. Right. But it worked well. And the thing I loved her is she just is really good. She does the asides very well with the audience.
The wink, shake, shake. You get that very well.
That's hard to do.
That's correct.
Breaking the fourth wall is not easy.
That's right.
She did it
because you lose credibility very easy.
Yes, because she did it in character.
That's correct.
That's what so many don't do.
That's right, and she nails it. You're right. You did miss a big one because
you did.
In my opinion, that was the That was the primo. That was the one that I think they put the most effort into,
Yes.
and they wanted it to be the best. You would have thought it would have been Henry IV, but it wasn't. That was a side.
If they did not intend it to be As You Like It, well, it was just a happy accident.
Well, that's right, because, and you're right, because it's superior to Lear.
Yes,
It was.
It was.
It really was. And
It really was.
And nothing to say, Lear. Part of it is you had a really great feeling when you're seeing As You Like It.
yes,
But that's the nature of the play. Lear is a damn depressing play.
yes.
To begin
It's
with.
like those miserable songs. So depressing.
That's
Yes.
right. It's some.
Well,
we got that.
As somebody that had so much about Lear, I think between high school and college, I must have read it 3 times. I think.
Oh wow.
Okay, well, yeah, you're the expert on this one then.
So, the Lear being the pinnacle of the tragedies,
yeah, I would give you in many
and,
ways.
and being this so personal a story, and again the body count being
Well,
not quite Hamlet level,
the
but
blinding of Gloucester and sending them out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that is just. It's just.
They did that very well, too.
They did it very, very well.
Very
Because
well.
how do you do that in such a way that seems very believable?
So before we wrap up, because somebody's here giving me the wrap it up signal, I got to give a shout out to Abigail Maupin.
Yes.
Yes.
She was phenomenal in her As You Like It role.
That's right. She always does a great job in everything that she does. But wow, this one here was probably...
What was the name of her
Jacques.
character? Jacques.
Yes.
So it's a gender bending of the role, which they have to do because there are so many more men in the the plays.
Well, Gloucester was in Lear was supposed to be a guy, but they made it a woman in this case because it just had to work out that way.
and
Right.
it worked the way
Yeah.
they did it.
And for the most part,
They picked the right ones to do that for.
Yeah, and except for the ones that have to be particular genders, I'm okay with that. Because obviously, certain things you cannot get past, but where it doesn't matter for because there's a love interest or whatever, that's fine. But she was, to me, she nearly stole the show.
Oh yeah, there's no
She
question.
nearly stole the show. She was basically a spinster type of character,
Yeah.
all in black with her bustle, and she had the little tiny glasses, and she was doing the squinty thing. You couldn't even see her eyes through most of it. That's how much she squinted.
Right.
And every time she was making a point, she was raising her fist in the air, and she was basically like a what's the name for the ones who wanted to get rid of the drink?
Prohibitionist.
Prohibitionist. She was very much like a prohibitionist. Temperance.
Temperance. There's the word.
Temperance. That's
right,
a perfect. Yes.
Well,
That's what it was called.
Well,
Yeah,
she
temperance,
looked like Robin Williams would say. Margaret Thatcher looked like somebody holding a small turd under her nose. She looked like that.
Yes.
Yes.
She was phenomenal. She had some of the best bits in that play, and when she was there with the group that was around the Duke, the exiled Duke, who got to come back at the end. Just the interaction of all of that was great. I almost liked that more than the regular part.
Well, yeah,
it was that good.
So many different zingers that
Yes.
you lose track after a while. But she's not a Falstaffian character
No.
by any means.
No.
Not a clown character.
No, she's not a clown character at all. Nor is she a commentator. She's just a very fun character.
She does have a few asides to the audience.
That's correct.
Again, she does them very
very
well
good.
too. She and her husband, Gregory Maupin, he's the one that played the High Lord Chamberlain and was the
He was Touchstone,
Touchstone.
That's right.
In that one, and
who is also a great
yes,
funny character.
They go around doing a 2-man show, and my daughter was telling me about it. I mean, she knows a bunch of these people by name. She's actually got to meet them, interact with them.
Yeah.
'Cause she was at a show that the two of them did. I want to go see it from the way she described it. It was really good.
Those ones in the park. Again, it's not this full cast. It's Dathan and some of the big
Right.
names, but Matt Wallace, the artistic director, introduces all those ones in the small park. So I've spoken to him and told him how
Oh
much
yeah,
I enjoyed
absolutely,
it.
very much so.
Yeah.
It's amazing how
That's-
close they are to the audience.
And to the community, because they recognize that their success is our success, and it's a great municipal good thing that we all have.
This is a
treasure.
a labor of love for
Very much so.
everyone involved in this.
Yeah, to make anything last 59 years.
Yeah.
People
I mean,
gotta really-
it's had its ups and downs over the years. There was a time when we first started watching, it was 2 plays, always 2 plays.
Right.
And they had a pretty long run.
That's right.
Slowly withered down, and for a while there, they were only doing 1 play, and it was a very short run.
Well, we got to give Matt Wallace a lot of credit.
And that's just where I was going to go. He has brought it back
He
to
has
the brink.
reinvigorated it where it should be, and the people have responded.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
really have.
I mean, it's a big deal.
And it really is, and it's
The
so
number
good.
of people who are new every time we go is phenomenal. Because they always ask, who's first timers? Raise your hand. a significant portion of the crowd at every play I have been to has
right.
raised their hand. So they're getting new people in constantly, which speaks volumes.
That's right.
I mean, think about it. And not just older people.
That's right.
There are young people that come to this.
Young people that do this for the first time, just like we did 30 years ago.
That
and we
speaks
just
well
kinda
for
did
this
it because,
organization.
yeah, this is cool.
Yeah.
But
It
we
was
kept coming
always
back.
fun. I mean,
Yeah.
free entertainment on Saturday night.
Yeah, right.
Go
They
and
have
sit.
food trucks. You can bring food if you
That's
want.
a fairly new part, too.
Yeah, that's
Well,
relatively
Matt
new.
Wallace, he's
Yeah.
been very
You
smart
know.
with that. And food trucks have been in their ascendancy only for a few years now.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just one extra thing that they have done to make it appealing.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that is just great. They're not resting on their laurels. They are not taking anything for granted. They work.
That's important.
That's
and
right.
That's important. Don't take
they
it for
do a
granted.
good job.
And I
Reach-
can't wait
reach
for
out.
Henry V next year.
Yes.
Henry V is going to be awesome next year. It's going to be amazing.
It's got to be
Yes,
the big
yes.
dog.
It
I'm
will
hopeful.
be.
Yep.
It
Yep.
will be.
Definitely. Well, we have just about pummeled that expired equine.
So
Indeed.
what we're saying here is, people, if you've never been to Shakespeare in the Park and you live in Louisville, Kentucky, you've got to go.
And if you don't
Don't
live in
live in
Louisville,
Louisville,
come visit us.
Yes, come terrorize us, get some bourbon, and see Shakespeare in the summer.
That's right.
Yeah, it usually runs from June, July, and in early August. It's got its own website. I believe it's KentuckyShakespeare.org.
Yes. I think it's kyshakespeare.org.
That's right. And they're well
It is.
ahead.
KYShakespeare.com.
Oh, is it .com?
Yeah,
Okay.
make sure we get it right.
KYShakespeare.com. And come see it. Come see it. And again, if you are considering tourism to Louisville,
That's right.
I think it's something you need to do.
You might see us there because we're always
You may not know it, but you might see us there.
That's right.
Go on the distillery things downtown.
Yep.
And then go see Shakespeare after that.
And if you don't come here, if there's Shakespeare in your town, go support it. It's well worth supporting.
It's fun.
Yes, he
It's a
saw
lot of
things
fun.
clearer than anyone else, as it's been
Yes.
said.
I know we're kind of dragging this out, so this will be the last thing I'll say, and then I'll send us out. Especially in As You Like It, there are so many lines in there that are part of the cultural
Yes,
background.
I noticed that more than I realized.
Yes, I did not expect it out of As You Like It. That's one of the great things about Shakespeare. So many of the cliches, the tropes that we think are just just everybody knows.
He wrote
They're
it.
from Shakespeare.
He wrote them.
He wrote
You
them.
need to know
And, we've
Shakespeare
said
to
this
help
before.
help understanding your own culture.
Yeah, every situational comedy that's been on television is probably rooted in Shakespeare somewhere.
Yeah, whether they know it or not.
Yeah, from Three's Company to
Friends.
Friends. Yeah, it's probably rooted in Shakespeare.
Big Bang Theory. It's all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So, I'm Robert.
I'm Martin.
I'm Francis.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode, which will be on...
Oh, we're going to talk a reach back, where we're going to talk a little bit about Franz Ferdinand.
Yes.
That's right. We're going back to World War I for a little while. Yes, exactly.
Probably the last one we do for a while. We've kind of been hitting that one pretty hard.
I know,
Yeah.
but it's so fun.
There's so much to it. Thanks for being with us here every week at Snakes and Otters, a pointless discussion of eternal questions. Be sure to spread the word on your social media accounts. Follow us and retweet us. We are on Instagram and on Twitter at Snakes and Otters.
Let your friends know that they can find us on Podbean, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. Just search Snakes and Otters Podcast to find us, and please remember to leave us your comments and reviews. It helps people find us.
And you can always send us an email at snakesandotterspodcast@gmail.com.
I'm Martin.
I'm Robert.
And I'm Francis. Catch us next week. Same snake time, same otter channel.